So let's talk a bit about uphills and downhills, folks. Uphills, you may think, just give it more gas and it'll go up. There's a bit more to it. Momentum is your friend. So on the approach, on the flat, you want your speed built up. In theory, 3/4 of the way up, you should be able to pull the clutch in and kill the engine, and you'll coast the rest of the way. If you're on a hill and the front wheel is higher elevation than the rear wheel, and then you give it a lot of gas, you're either just going to spin, or if you've got good traction, it could wheelie over backwards. So safety tips, we recommend you always attack a hill standing up in the tiger or attack position. Your fingers, 2 of them are covering the clutch, because if it loops out and you see clouds, simply take the power away by slipping the clutch in. Momentum, have your speed built up. That comes with experience. All you need for something like this is just a nice crisp second gear, and it'll walk right up the hill. Your eyes are up, looking for the best line, because when we take grass away from the side of a hill, heavy rains will erode and make ruts. All the loose, soft sand will be washed to the bottom, and what's left is roots or rocks that can't be washed away. So you've really got to have your head up watching where the best line is. Let me show you how, and then we'll talk about the downhill. So now let's talk about how do we get our motorcycle down a steep hill. Up and down, we think you should let your friend go first. That way you'll see if there's success possible, which line is better than the other. When it's your turn to try, build up to it with practicing a few things on flat ground. When you're going downhill, the rear wheel is obviously a lot higher than the front. So the weight transfer is to the contact patch of the front tire. What that means is if going downhill, if you use your rear brake to control your speed, the rear suspension is taller, there's hardly any weight on the rear tire. So it's likely to skid, and you could actually speed up with a locked rear wheel. The brake that we ask customers to practice with is front brake. So 1 finger only, and practice on flat ground, riding along, covering your clutch in first gear. Your weight is back, because we want to keep the weight off the front tire. And breathe on the front brake with 1 or 2 fingers to the point where it locks up and skids. And with the gas on and the clutch out, you see how far you can actually push that front wheel. That's a real advanced skill. The secret that you'll learn from it is to sense when your tire's about to lock up and then release the brake. So for coming down a steep hill like this, 1 finger front brake only is what I'll do. I'm riding my clutch, because if I pull on the front brake too hard, the bike will stall if the clutch is out. But you never go down a hill like this with a clutch all the way in, because that's freewheeling, it's go-karting, and you'll go really fast. So eyes up, picking your line, avoiding rocks and roots and ruts, and look down towards the bottom. It's just flat ground on a tilt. Let me show you how. Just a couple last tips about coming down hills. Remember to have your clutch out or almost all the way out. If it's in first gear, engine braking will help slow your descent. Definitely don't come down with the clutch in. The other thing is, if you do happen to fall, make sure that you carefully pick up the bike before you just charge down the hill. So shut it off, leave the clutch out, lift the bike back up, climb on, breathe and settle yourself, and then light it up and continue. If you crash going uphill, usually the bike is pointing uphill when it falls. I doubt you'll be able to pick it up and continue. Usually it digs in at that point without enough momentum or flips over backwards. So it's best to turn around and come back down. That's the next thing we'll show you. It's called hill recovery.